So this session will be about strengthening networks of MPA managers and also connect networks of MPA managers in the Mediterranean and beyond. And today we will be moderator together with Purificacio CANALS, that is the president of MedPAN, and that is also the coordinator of the European Ocean Governance Project. And we will have two rapporteurs, our Croatian friends, Andrea and Sandro from Brioni National Park. Thank you very much. So a little bit of backgrounds on networks. So networks of MPA managers have the potential to accelerate the implementation of MPA strategic targets. And why? Because as you know, maybe networks enable to share knowledge, but also to share management practices between MPA managers and MPA actors that work on MPA, especially through capacity building. When we say capacity building, could be some training, could be some exchange visit, could be some experience sharing workshops, different formats, different levels. And another important aspect of network is that they support to bring the voice from MPA managers, MPA actors at local level, field level, into decision-making processes. And we will discuss this, we will see this. And the third important point is that they enable to build MPA communities at national level, sub-regional and regional levels, and even beyond regional levels. And here in our case, a regional level is the Mediterranean level. And another idea, another background is the idea to connect the networks, different networks in different regions at international level to amplify the impact. And you will see more just after. So now I just introduced some of the roadmap recommendations. So you know that there is this draft roadmap. And there are some strategic objectives of the roadmap, and especially some recommendations that are really related to the network's activities. The first one is within the objective building capacity, is this 4.5 is about strengthen the coordination of MPA capacity building activities between different organizations and national authority. Another important recommendation is within the objective of the roadmap about policy, MPA governance, and we pick the recommendation, the 1.3, that is again about this idea to bridge this gap between local field action and policy-making processes. And yeah, and I continue the sentence, through continuous collaboration across multi-sectoral governmental bodies and non-governmental stakeholders and operational human networks of MPA managers. Yeah, maybe I have to precise here that when we talk about networks, here we don't talk about the ecological networks of MPA. This session is about mainly the human networks of MPA manager that of course support the ecological network. Yeah. And there is a big one, quite long recommendation. This is at the end of the roadmap. If you look, it's the cross-cutting. And I guess we will, this is really the recommendation that is the basis of our session today. This cross-cutting recommendation is about supporting networking of MPA managers and other stakeholders at regional, sub-regional, but also national level. Even on some key topics could be, there is a new Mediterranean Posidonia network, and this is what we call thematic network, for example. And today in the panel, you will hear about example of networks of MPA managers at regional or sub-regional or national level in the Mediterranean. And even we will have also some example from outside the Mediterranean. And the idea is to really enable the scaling up of good practices, sharing of experience, mutual understanding, and also to establish permanent connection between MPA stakeholders at all levels and again, bring this voice from the field to decision-making process and connect with the rest of the world. So today, our rapporteurs from Brioni, Croatia, will make sure that they capture all your comment and contribution into the relevant roadmap recommendation. We will have this panel, but before going to this panel, there is a first presentation, a first case study. There will be only one presented by Puri CANALS. And please, could you please, est-ce que vous pouvez mettre l'autre PowerPoint, s'il vous plaît, le case study?
Merci, Marie. Good afternoon, everyone. Où est-ce que je dois? Voilà. Well, this is not exactly a case study. There are two case studies in which I'm personally involved with, as well as Marie, with different roles. So it's just to present, but in fact can be considered as a case study of the connection of a regional network with other networks in other regions. And in this sense, it helps as a single case study, but it's also two case study because I'm going to talk about MedPAN by one side, that most of you know, but I will also talk about an initiative from the European Commission to promote networks in a regional level in a large space, like as it is the Atlantic area, well, and in fact, and beyond. So first of all, regarding MedPAN, so what I could say from MedPAN, I think that my words are not needed if you look down in the picture. So what's that? A lot of people in the Mediterranean that are all strongly committed as members or as partners for improving the quality of the management of marine protected areas in our region. This is the summary of MedPAN. So, but it is also obviously very dynamic, but this dynamism, as Marie stressed, is not an ecological dynamism in the terms of connectivity between MPAs. It's a dynamism between managers and other actors that support management. So this is the way MedPAN operates, and it happens at Mediterranean scale. But what I will stress is that we transcend political barriers. What would means this? As I was talking in the opening, the Mediterranean is very well known because the conflicts and the difficulties in the relationships between different countries. So MedPAN is not that MedPAN ignores that. Nobody can ignore that. But MedPAN tries to work in a scale in which the political problems don't stop the possibility of people connecting. So we work mainly at the technical level, exchanging knowledge about how we can do our best to manage ecosystems in whatever place in the Mediterranean. So we have no restrictions. And it's also very important to say that it's a science-based and learning and an adaptive organization with a bottom-up approach. From the very beginning, MedPAN was founded by managers, and then other actors have been joining us, and we are a large organization, but the weight of the decisions, the weight of the interest of MedPAN is still on the bottom, on those of you that you are every day taking care of the ecosystems in your MPAs. Today, we began, it was funded by 9, I think we were 9 founding members. Today we have 131 in 21 countries. I think this is really representative of the scope and the legitimacy to talk about Mediterranean MPAs, because we have members or partners almost everywhere. And altogether, this represents more than 110 marine protected areas that are managed by MedPAN members. So if we look at the constituency of MedPAN, we see that a large majority are public institutions, but around 1/3 are NGOs. And this is very interesting, also connected to some of the discussions we are having these days about co-management, about complementarities, about cooperation with civil society. So MedPAN, in a certain manner, is a structure that shows this reality in the Mediterranean. How are we organized in terms of what's our governance system? So we have the General Assembly. Most of you, I recognize here in the room, you were 2 days ago in another room. Well, I think it was the same, but looking at the other side, participating at MedPAN General Assembly that happens once a year. And this General Assembly appoints a board of directors, and this board of directors is there responsible for the following on the implementation of the actions that are approved in the program of MedPAN. But obviously it doesn't implement. It's a board that just directs, and is the secretariat, the ones that is doing the implementation. But it's not so easy. We have also an advisory committee that includes strategic and financial partners. And this is, for me, is a key element in the concept of a network operating in the Mediterranean. It's not only composed by managers, but we also want to be connected with other institutions that operate in the Mediterranean. Those institutions are in this advisory committee. We have as well a scientific committee that is linked with my previous slide when we talk about this science-based, the value that the science knowledge has for the managers. And then we have steering committees for different projects. We have thematic working groups, but those thematic working groups, is very important to say that they are led by MPA managers. So MedPAN coordinates the organization of the events, helps in the logistics, but the thematic leadership of those groups is in the hands of the managers. So, and then this secretariat that you know, Marie is the head of the secretariat, but you also know all the team. We have also Magali here in the room, and we have Dun that just stopped recently, but she was also involved in the secretariat, and they coordinate all the implementation. They are linked with the different structures, but for instance, they are not also very involved in the establishment of training centers that will be as well led by managers of the MPAs, and they also work in the establishment of the memorandum of understanding with the partners. So these partners are basically the same we find here at the advisory committee. So what we create is a system that connects the different components at different levels and for different objectives, but we are all the time working more or less all together. This is has been changing along the time. So at the beginning had less complementary elements, especially in terms of working groups and trainings and so on. But from the very beginning was designed to coordinate many actions. So talking about action, you can sit here, Francis, don't worry. Okay. So this will be the three main focus areas for our activity. So how we work, as I said, that the key element in a network is this, not is a network towards the external dimension, is also a network internally by the constituency, and is also has also a networking approach internally. So that means that the different actions have to be connected between them. That's what really creates a system that allows the exchange with many other actors around. So for instance, the main objective is to build MPA knowledge for management and decision making. This is the core business of MedPAN, the main reason why MedPAN was created. And here we can include many different actions, for instance, the databases and the analysis, but it's also connected with another objective, which is develop and promote MPA policy in the Mediterranean and beyond. Why? Because if we only work technically and we have no impact around, those managers will not have the benefit of a better environment that allow them to do and to apply those best practices they can learn. So this implies coordinating MPA voices. This includes, for instance, this forum. This forum is part of this objective of develop and promote MPA policies. But it's also the other objective of building capacities and share solutions on MPA management. For instance, all the component on experience sharing, on trainings, on applying or developing tools, all the small grants program, or the pilot project. So all this is interacting internally with the objective of to have this strong and sustainable organization with this multi-level MPA manager networks and partners. But we don't stop in the Mediterranean. So obviously 90% or 95% of our activity happens in the Mediterranean. But the Mediterranean, as you know, is only 1% of the ocean of the world. And the policies for ocean are not decided, all of them, let's say, no one of them are decided in the Mediterranean. So the decisions happen outside. And if we really want to have a good political context for the Mediterranean, we cannot limit ourselves to work and to influence the governments and institutions in the Mediterranean. We must be also able to work outside. Working outside for a network that comes from the Mediterranean is not easy because we represent just this 1%. But if we work with other networks, maybe things can change a little bit. So from this approach, MedPAN began to exchange with other networks outside the Mediterranean with similar, let's say, objectives more than structure or governance, because each network is quite different. I will not enter in this dimension, but we began to exchange with other networks, for instance, in the Caribbean, in North America, in West Africa, and in the Indian Ocean. So, and this allows us to debate about other topics that are coming from decisions outside of the Mediterranean. For instance, all the issues related to mobile species. Mobile species are not only moving in the Mediterranean, they enter and come back to the Mediterranean, and they move in the Atlantic. That is an example. The topic of sustainable financing is a crucial one for a network. It's not easy that the donors fund networking activity because traditionally they don't understand at all why this is useful. And to show good cases on that and to demonstrate to them that it's crucial for the managers is not easy. If we do ourselves alone, it's going to be a huge task, because most of the big donors, the ones that influence the policies, are not in the Mediterranean. So, for instance, if you were at the assembly, you know that now MedPAN is developing a GEF project. Having funds from the GEF is not easy. The GEF officials are not in the Mediterranean. We had to go to Washington to negotiate this, to motivate them. We had to attend meetings of the GEF. So, and this is just the voice of the MedPAN. But if the voice of MedPAN is with the voice of other networks, something might change in the mind of the big donors, and something might happen in a few years that those donors can promote even those networks that today maybe don't exist, because they can realize that having a strong network of practitioners might have a final positive impact on nature conservation. And this is the objectives. So now, coming from this MedPAN connection, there is also other opportunities not created by MedPAN, such as the EU Ocean Governance Project. This project is an initiative of the foreign policy instrument. So that means it's an objective of the policy of Europe towards the world, towards the ocean, the global ocean, and is targeting the management of marine protected areas at different levels. So one of them is highlighting this role of MPA managers, not exclusively at this, but I just extract this for this session. But the project has many other components. For instance, has a component on restoration and on transborder cooperation in Southeast Asia, and have the main component interesting for here is that the transatlantic cooperation. But there is also another component that promotes exchanges between the Atlantic and Southeast Asia. And we had a set of exchanges 3 weeks ago that were very interesting, even if they were happening virtually, because now it's impossible to travel to Southeast Asia. So we are identifying that what we did in the recent years, connecting networks across the Atlantic, it is also of interest with networks and actors beyond the Atlantic, because finally, what we realize is that the challenges for management are not have specificities, of course, depending on the culture and depending on the ecosystems and the region, but have also a lot of commonalities. And there is a huge room for promoting exchanges around many management topics. So those sharing problematics in the Atlantic are not new for the ocean governance. In fact, the Ocean Governance Project heritage this from a previous EU project in which we were involved. That was the Transatlantic MPA Network project that lasts for 3 years and allows us to connect those different networks and also to develop a specific management exchanges. And I think this is really relevant because here we are talking more about the structures of the networks that are permanent. But even if you don't have a permanent structure, networking to promote exchanges on management topics between MPAs is really relevant. So during the transatlantic, we identify what we call three twinning, let's say twinning or partnership projects, because there were not twins, but more partners participating. We identified 3 different partnership projects targeting different aspects. One was on coastal resilience and how the managers of the MPAs can really deal with this. We realized that, for instance, they don't have tools to monitor this. So we developed tools for that. And I have here my colleagues that are in charge of this resilience and the marine mammal twinning. And both of them did a great job, and they can explain more in detail after the session. With the partners of the different MPAs that were contributed to these twinnings, they developed new tools for the managers to include in their management plans important resilience aspects and important aspects for taking care of the marine mammals that normally were not there, were not ready. So both of them are organizing specific training sessions explaining those tools tomorrow afternoon. So if some of you didn't know this information, you are still on time to register and to participate. And here I will just leave at the end. There is some information specifically for the resilience tool. So this was one part of these twinnings, but the third twinning, as you can see, we had 2 that were very topic oriented on resilience and marine mammals. But the third one was about networks of MPA managers. And we take the advantage of having this support from the European Commission to promote this exchange of experiences between the networks that we were already identified ourselves, but we didn't have the resources to really have permanent exchanges. So from here, we create, for instance, a joint strategy. And well, we also had the first scoping study about the MPAs in the Atlantic. This was coordinated by my colleague Jean-Jacques and Francis are there, so you can exchange with them later. But this was very interesting because this first scoping study showed the complexity of the MPA system in the Atlantic, and that in fact there are not so much networks. There are not many structures that connect the managers and allow them to learn from other managers. So this really put the basis to say, okay, let's improve or let's show, at least to the European Commission, the value of this networking. So the results were quite good. Let's say they are never perfect. Well, you always can do more, but were good enough to show the Commission the value of this networking. And then from here, they create the ocean governance that is now going deeper in these Atlantic twinning experiences. We are continuing on the twinnings, on the scoping study. And for us, in the exchange of practices between managers as well, with the Southeast Asia, which is also very interesting because you see how that there are approaches that are very related to the cultural background of the MPAs, while others are more just based on science, and others are just the capacity to learn from doing things. So we are also supporting this transboundary dialogue in the region. One example in these exchanges we had 3 weeks ago for the people in the Coral Triangle area between Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. They were very interested in learning about the Pelagos sanctuary experience in the Mediterranean. And they required me especially, can you please ask someone from Pelagos to tell us how they developed this sanctuary, because we have an important population also of marine mammals. We are doing nothing. So sometimes you may think that is too far to influence, but at the end is not the case if you find the right partners. So we are also bringing those experiences. This is the current number of partners we have and the sites we operate for restoration. Those in purple so these are just for the restoration sites. But here in the Atlantic, in orange, you have the different partners for networks. And when we talk about those networks, it's very interesting because this is exactly the same approach we apply in MedPAN in the Mediterranean. We work obviously as a regional network, but we want to support national levels. We want to support sub-regional networks. We have here Fabio from ADRIAPAN. So ADRIAPAN is not another history. ADRIAPAN is a sub-regional network that is connected with the national networks in the Adriatic, but also connected with MedPAN at Mediterranean level. So in this case, we are working with regional networks such NAMPAM in North America, CAMPAM in the Caribbean, RAMPAO in West Africa, the Patagonian Forum for all the South America. We have also HELCOM and OSPAR convention networks involved, but we also, and obviously MedPAN, but we also want to work with the national, let's say, networks or systems or agencies that take care of the MPAs at national level, and explore how this regional dimension can support the national dimension and how the national dimension can also support the regional action. So for instance, we have the NOAA in the US, we have the CONAMB in Mexico, we have national parks of Colombia, we have national parks and the community managed areas in Senegal. So we can learn later because we have here the director. We have Uruguay, France and Spain. And this provides a huge possibility for exploring exchanges. I'm not going to say that we are similar. We are very different, but we have a lot of common interests. And this allows us to really identify how we can operate together to really be more effective in stressing the value of investing on management and on networking of the managers. So those are mainly the main objectives: to expand the networks, to update our strategy, and to enhance the policy support and advocacy activity. That's why we are here also in the forum, and explore more active role of those regional networks to support thematic networking. The examples, for instance, when I talk about the connections with the resilience twinning activity or the marine mammals twinning activity, is also we take advantage of those tools of the work that they are doing on those topics, and we also share. We were discussing with Jean-Jacques maybe the possibility to organize a specific training in MedPAN about the resilience. So this is a way in which the networks can really help to expand all those technical knowledge and integrate. No, this is exactly more or less the same. So we have some structural activity. For instance, we work together in identifying fundraising options for networks, on doing this support advocacy. An example, during the UN Ocean Conference in New York, we were taking the floor at the closing plenary in the United Nations and talking about the importance of management. The countries must invest not only in the designation of MPAs, also in the management and on networking. So this is easy if you do it together. But then we work also on technical topics. For instance, we work a lot now. We want to work a lot on marine turtle, and I also say the resilience and marine mammals, and also the connection with all the activity in Southeast Asia. So here you have the website. You can have more information. But in resume, what I want to show is that the activity of MedPAN is of interest not only in the Mediterranean, is of interest also for other networks. We have also bilateral exchanges in the context of the ocean governance with RAMPAO, with NAMPAM, with the Patagonian Forum, or Red Parques. I forget Red Parques in Latin America. And we also learn a lot from others. So this is it. But the key point is that we are more able to put the voice of the managers at the international fora. This will be more difficult to be done only by MedPAN. And I stop here because we have a panel that is very interesting, and I think you will learn a lot from them. So if some of you is interested in this document on resilience, you can take it. I can just pass a few of them, or I leave here.
Thank you, Puri. So now we can go back, please, on the. Si on peut reprendre le slide d'avant, l'autre PowerPoint, pardon, s'il vous plaît. Et donc, so we will start a panel with we select key persons from different networks, from different parts you will see of the world, of the Mediterranean and of the world. And so, est-ce que vous pouvez mettre l'autre PowerPoint, s'il vous plaît, le général? Merci. Et voilà. Et je vais venir. Ah, tac. Sorry for that. Ah, yeah. So we will start with Martina Erva from Brioni National Park and working for the Croatian network of MPA managers.
Hello. Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming. And I'll try to introduce you to the Croatian network of marine protected areas. So we are a young informal network of managers of different levels. So we have local institutions, regional and national, 15 to be more precise. And we made a memorandum of cooperation this year, so we are quite new. But it all started last year when we were, as Brioni National Park, so one of the members of the network, we started with a new project, MPA Networks, led by MedPAN. We knew that we have many challenges. Some of them are the same in other areas. Some are, of course, different. But at the end of the day, we sometimes feel that nobody really understands us. But when we speak to our colleague, the one that we know because we didn't know everybody, then we saw that we get comfort from them, but we get understanding. And then we have something called, I will send you an email and everything is going to be easier for you. So you can just copy, paste and adapt a little bit. And this is quite useful. So the MPA Networks project was a big, big help. With some money, we managed to gather to talk about problems. And I have to say first that before gathering all, we got some data from MedPAN, the initial data, because everybody hates surveys. You know, when you have 7 days to fill this form, please. It is something really precious for us, and half of them just won't send it. So we got the information from MedPAN. First, we made memorandum of cooperation between our park and MedPAN for sharing the data because they are confidential. And with this data, we knew what kind of problems are facing some of the areas in Croatia, because not everybody, not all the institutions were part of MedPAN, of course. Then we gathered and we started to talk. We made together, I have to say, a joint memorandum of cooperation that had few additions before we signed. So it was a bottom-up approach and it was engaging. So we as a park that coordinated the activity, we didn't push anybody, we didn't force anybody, we didn't impose anybody to sign something that they didn't feel comfortable. What I wanted to say that at the beginning, not everybody were present, but it's important, and this is for the recommendation, to keep everybody in the loop. You will have some parks that will not respond, that will not engage, but anyway, keep them in the loop. This is really important. In some time in the future, they will find their place, they will find the way to approach you, they will find their interest. And I think this is quite important. At the end, we got everybody on the board. We are, at the beginning, a technical network. We have online meetings that are quite thematic oriented. We had some training. We had an assessment, a short assessment of training needs. And we tried to get on board people from different sectors. So not only biologists, but also people working in, for example, tourism. So that we can mingle between each other. So now I know people working in finance department in 15 institutions and some of directors, biologists, etc. And this is really, really a big value. Now I heard that there was a hacking of the site, and I heard it from a colleague that I encountered in the network. So the news spreads really fast with the network. Some days, perhaps we will be strategic. We have that in our memorandum of cooperation, but for the beginning, it's technical. I have to say that we are informal. In the project, we have the support of our ministry. But let's face it, when you approach the ministries, they are a little bit reluctant because they don't know, they don't know what you're aiming to. So the support is quite weak, let's face it. So we really need to be good, to show that we are doing our best, that it's not a parallel system, that we don't have anything against any ministry, and that we are working together to reach the same goal. As a recommendation, I would say that for now we had initial money from the project, and this was quite useful. But next year, the project will end and it's going to be challenging. We agreed that we will have coordination that will go from 1 year to another, from one partner to another, but not everybody are thrilled to take coordination. So we will expect that from these 15 institutions, it's a small number of institutions, that we will have perhaps 2 or 3 of them who will be willing to participate actively. So it would be quite wise to try to become more formal, an NGO or something similar, to be able to get the funds, which as an informal network, it's impossible. And to be, let's say, to have somebody that will coordinate in a professional way. Perhaps not 100% of the time, but somebody that will work and half the time on the network. And what are our next steps? So as we are informal, we are trying to split the duties. So we are thinking now to make some working groups, depending on the interest of the member. So we need to speak. And I have to say that I'm so happy that I have a flat rate on the mobile phone because I talk a lot. And I talk a lot to everybody in the network. So besides knowing these things about hacking, I know who has which kind of problem. So for now, I know that there is interest in few projects. So we will probably make some working groups dedicated to different thematic areas. And what else to say? Nothing. It all depends on people. We really don't want that the network becomes personalized, you know, that it's Brioni's network, my network, or anybody else's network. So we are really trying from the beginning to involve everybody, to give the voice to each institution. And we really try to speak, to ask if they have some problem. And our job is to coordinate, to give them the voice and give them the space to express and to really get the answer they can, and to share the tools. Because I heard in the other session, we have so many tools, so many projects. At the end, we we reinvent the wheel. I heard we need to make new, I don't know, for example, communication tools, but there are communication tools, but we don't use them. So this is something that the network can really push. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Martina. It's true that this capitalization aspect of the network, I mean, to capitalize all the tools, all the experience on the long term is really key. And I notice here for the recommendation that there is this particularity of networks to have some recurrent activities, and because it takes time to gather people. And so there is this need of recurrent funding sources. Also, this is really crucial for networks at all levels. And I noticed also that the Croatian network started really with some technical aspect, and MedPAN, it was the same. Really, this is the heart of the network, technical exchanges between managers, and slowly by slowly, there is more this strategic and policy, let's say, axis that is also crucial for the members of the network. And I heard also that there is this need of coordination, and this is really crucial. You need staff time to coordinate the networks. This is related to funding sources, of course, staff time. And there is, I notice also you talk a lot, you said. There is this particularity of people talking a lot, but also listening, the coordination, listening the members of the networks. So now we move to the Patagonia. So not so close from the Mediterranean, but very close from the heart. So I don't know, Alexandra, I see you are online. Hello, good morning. No, good, I don't know. Morning, afternoon.
Here is midday, so it can be good morning, good afternoon. I don't know, it's about 1 p.m. here. So good morning to you, or good afternoon, I don't know. And thanks, Marie and Puri, for this invitation. It's really great to have this opportunity to be there with you without taking a plane. So it's really great to be there and learn from all your experiences. I will talk a little bit about the experience of the Forum for the Conservation of the Patagonian Sea. And so first I need to tell you that what we call Patagonian Sea and areas of influence is more than Patagonia in Argentina, where I live. I live in Puerto Madryn by the coast of the Patagonian Sea. But what we call the Patagonian Sea, it doesn't exist in the map. It's not like the Mediterranean. It's a region where that has the oceans of Argentina, the south of Chile, Uruguay, and south of Brazil. And why that? Because it's a real unique ecosystem, because there are species that uses all this area. They don't care about political borders. So when this forum was created 17 years ago, the idea was that we need to work together to influence on public policies so governments can see this region as one. And so public policy could be coherent and articulated between countries, because without that, it would be very difficult to really have a healthy Patagonian Sea, as we see it, as one unique ecosystem that comprises south of Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. So this forum is a forum of NGOs. It's not a network of MPA managers. It's a forum of NGOs that work together to influence public policies. We start working, as she said before, bringing some technical advice to governments to generate this idea of this regional ecosystem that they have to take care of. But after 17 years working together, we are 23 NGOs that have programs in Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil, and some internationals also that are interested in this region, working on marine conservation. So after 17 years of working together, we are now a real platform of collaborative incidents on public policies. So we facilitate dialogue processes between governments, between different actors, different stakeholders, academic sector, private sector, the government. That's how we influence on public policy, and we create this idea of the Patagonian Sea. One of our main objectives is to create, we don't create MPAs, we work with governments to create MPAs and to work on strengthening the MPA systems in the region, to have a representative system of MPH, a connected network of MPAs all along the Patagonian Sea, not also in each country. So for the last 5 years, we've been working on a new project, on a very specific project that is related to MPA managers. That is the School for MPA Managers. And it's a program specially designed for the needs of these MPA managers in the region. We did a survey before designing these processes. We have some interviews with some of these managers from Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil to understand their needs, what they need to learn, what are their challenges every day at work. So we designed a program based on the learning competence approach, or learning by competences approach. That is a guide of IUCN also. We adapted that to the local needs. And we've been working with a small group of about 30 managers for the last 5 years. And through that process, through that learning process, a network of MPA managers was created, just because they felt so related to this initiative, and they found in this initiative a place not also to learn some tools and concepts, but to share lessons learned, to understand that it's very important to have this unique vision of the Patagonian Sea, to understand how their job is related from managers from Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, that they have some common challenges, and they have some differences, of course, but there is a lot in common, as Puri said before. So this is very important for these MPA managers to have this place where they can share lessons learned, where they can travel and see new experiences, visit different MPAs, work with specialists in different subjects. It's inspirational for them, and they also feel part of a community. So we now have a community of practice, and we also want to expand the scale of the school to other places in Latin America. And of course, we are willing to have exchanges with all these MPA networks from MedPAN, from the Ocean Governance Project, because as Puri says, there are many challenges that we have in common. So to create this MPA managers network is really important for the MPAs to be more effective, and for the people that works on these MPAs, because they don't feel so lonely. Sometimes they are very, very frustrated because they've been working in this area for a long time and they don't see enough changes as they would like to see. And when they exchange ideas with others, with partners, they realize that they're not that bad, that they have similar challenges, and there are ways to go through those problems. So these MPA managers are very important for that, for personal reasons, I think. So this is a very brief summary of how we work as a network of NGOs with governments, but especially with MPA managers through this project of the School of Managers. I think I'm about time, so I think I will leave it here. And of course, I'm here for any questions you might have afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. I was thinking that maybe in 4 years, there will be some connection between the Mediterranean MPA Forum and this Patagonian Forum, maybe with the hybrid, and we have to add the translation into Spanish, and maybe we could exchange directly with some also MPA managers, and it would be great. Thank you, Alexandra. And we keep good note of this idea of community of practice and to share lesson learned and share a vision. And it was really key. Thank you. And now we will go to West Africa, to Senegal with Mr. Mamadou Sidibé. And I invite him to come, and we have the pleasure to welcome him here in Monaco. Ah oui, you have to take, vous parlez en français, donc il faut prendre l'écouteur. You have to take the headphone. Non,
merci beaucoup. Donc, je disais, quand je faisais la présentation, que je remercie beaucoup vraiment les organisateurs de ce forum de nous mettre vraiment en relation. C'est déjà un début de relation entre le réseau de l'Ouest africain des aires marines protégées et ceux du MedPAN. Parce que le réseau ouest africain, c'est né en 2007, hein, c'est très jeune, c'est tout à fait jeune, mais ça regroupe au moins 7 pays. Donc la Mauritanie jusqu'au Sierra Leone, en passant par les 2 Guinées et la Gambie. Donc vous avez le Sénégal, donc ça fait les 7 pays. Mais ça nous permet aujourd'hui de travailler ensemble. En plus de cela, le réseau est connecté directement avec le PRCM, le programme régional africain pour la conservation côtière, marine côtière. Donc, avec le PRCM, qui est beaucoup plus vaste aussi que le RAMPAO. Donc, chaque année, donc normalement, on doit organiser à partir avec le réseau, le RAMPAO, donc du mois de mars et tout ça, donc notre forum concernant la gestion des aires. Et là, la présidence va tourner, quoi. C'est-à-dire que nous faisons une présidence qui tourne d'un pays à un autre, sur les 7 pays. Normalement, c'est le Sénégal qui doit gérer cette présidence, par exemple. Ce qui est important, c'est quoi? C'est-à-dire que c'est de mettre en link les différents gestionnaires dans les différents pays. Et donc, ce qui fait qu'on échange à chaque fois des expériences entre nous. On déplace, par exemple, des gens du Sénégal pour aller voir ce qui se passe en Mauritanie, ceux de la Mauritanie pour aller voir ce qui se passe en Guinée-Bissau, et ceux de la Guinée-Bissau pour aller voir ce qui se passe en Guinée-Conakry. Et donc, nous essayons maintenant de faire ce qu'on appelle une gestion transfrontière des ressources. C'est-à-dire que nous n'agissons plus en termes d'écosystème tout simplement, mais en termes régionaux. Donc, c'est ça que notre travail se trouve. Et ça, c'est extrêmement important, d'autant plus que avec la Gambie, le Sénégal avec la Gambie, nous avons déjà ce qu'on appelle une zone humide transfrontalière, donc le Nioming et le Saloum, donc qui est juste une aire marine protégée encore, donc transfrontalière. Et ça, cette même pratique et tout ça, et on veut le faire surtout en Guinée-Bissau et la Casamance. Aujourd'hui, en Casamance, nous avons plus de 4 aires marines protégées. Et il y a aussi 2 autres initiatives donc, qui sont en cours de préparation. Et donc, maintenant, du côté de la Guinée-Bissau, il y a aussi des initiatives qui sont là. Maintenant, nous voulons fédérer ces des initiatives maintenant pour arriver au moins, même si on n'arrive pas à faire tout simplement une réserve de biosphère, mais arriver à faire tout simplement des aires marines transfrontières. Donc, entre les 2 pays où on va s'échanger de pratiques. Parce que nous avons les mêmes communautés. Donc, l'autre aspect qui suit, c'est-à-dire que les espèces n'ont pas de frontières, mais ils ont des barrières écosystémiques. Ça, il faut qu'on accepte, qu'on reconnaisse ça. Une fois que, par exemple, l'écosystème est détruit ici, les espèces ne viennent plus. Et donc, il faut assurer ce continuum écologique. Et ça, c'est dans ce sens que nous travaillons avec le réseau de RAMPAO, donc qui appuie vraiment dans ça. Voilà cette information que je voulais apporter et vous remercie. Et je pense qu'on est encore une fois avec MedPAN. Je pense qu'on pourra continuer ce même réseautage dans le cadre du continuum écologique. Merci beaucoup.
Un grand merci pour ce témoignage et puis ce point sur cette gestion transfrontalière et le continuum écologique et peut-être de dire que vraiment, et MedPAN et Rampao, on est un peu des cousins. D'ailleurs, la secrétaire exécutive de Rampao, Marie-Suzanne Traoré, on dit qu'on est cousine. C'est ma cousine africaine. Alors, on a été créés à peu près en même temps et c'est vrai qu'on a évolué un petit peu et moi, je suis allée à l'Assemblée générale du Rampao il y a quelques années et Marie-Suzanne, elle était venue au forum de Tanger il y a 5 ans. Et voilà, c'est vraiment deux réseaux intéressants. Et peut-être de dire aussi que pour les pays de l'Afrique du Nord qui sont dans MedPAN, avec Rampao, on est en train de réfléchir aujourd'hui aussi peut-être à avoir un centre de formation qui serait pourquoi pas en Tunisie, qui pourra accueillir bien sûr des aires marines protégées de Méditerranée. Et ça, nous, MedPAN, on travaille là-dessus. Mais on est en discussion avec Rampao pour voir si ce centre de formation pour accueillir aussi des aires marines protégées Afrique de l'Ouest. Ça serait une connexion encore plus grande. Donc, merci beaucoup. Et donc, maintenant, on va côté français et outre-mer avec Renaud Dupuis de la Grand Rive.
Oui, bonjour à tous, bonjour à ceux qui sont en ligne. Oui, on va faire un petit voyage depuis le Sénégal de Mamadou. En fait, on va traverser l'Atlantique parce qu'effectivement, comme tu l'as dit, excusez-moi, c'est en français. Hein, voilà. On va traverser l'Atlantique parce qu'il y a des aires marines protégées qui font partie de ce réseau dont je vous ai parlé dans les Antilles. Et puis après, il faudrait peut-être aussi passer le détroit de Gibraltar pour aller en Méditerranée, puis revenir en arrière pour passer le golfe de Gascogne, aller sur la côte atlantique et même sur la côte Manche-Mer du Nord, puisque là, le réseau donc, de français des aires marines protégées concerne tous les territoires français. On pourrait même aller en Nouvelle-Calédonie ou dans l'océan Indien, dont Karine, mon amie Karine, va vous parler tout à l'heure. En fait, c'est un réseau qui est assez ancien, il a 20 ans depuis quelques semaines, il a été créé en 2001, et un petit peu comme tous les réseaux, c'est d'abord un réseau technique, un réseau d'échange technique, et je vais dire le contraire juste maintenant. Ce n'est pas du tout un réseau technique seulement, c'est d'abord un réseau humain. C'est un réseau de gens qui se rencontrent pour les meilleurs moments et pour les moins bons moments aussi, pour en parler. C'est aussi ça, il faut aussi dire les choses. On a aussi des discussions, souvent, il y a plusieurs membres de ce réseau dans la salle, ils le savent tout aussi bien que moi, que voilà, selon les aléas de la protection de l'environnement en France, on a eu des moments plus faciles que d'autres. Ce qui est intéressant, donc on est 70, il y a 70 membres qui représentent environ 110 aires marines protégées. Ça fait quand même pas mal une bonne représentation. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est qu'il y a une grande diversité aussi d'aires marines protégées. Ça va des parcs nationaux, en passant par les réserves naturelles, par les sites Natura 2000, par des sites de parcs naturels régionaux, des sites du conservatoire littoral en partie. Voilà, donc je pense que c'est une grande richesse que d'avoir ce type d'aires marines protégées. Et puis en même temps, on a aussi une diversité des membres qui sont donc dans ce réseau. Ça peut aller des directeurs, hein, il y a des directeurs, il y a des gens du terrain, il y a des gardes, il y a des gens qui s'occupent de scientifiques. Donc je pense que c'est un intérêt aussi que d'avoir un réseau qui soit comme ça multifacette, de la manière à ce qu'on puisse discuter de différents problèmes qui vont nous concerner selon la position qu'on a dans son AMP. Donc je disais que c'est une plateforme technique, et c'est une plateforme technique qui est basée sur comme on dit, on aime bien le dire aujourd'hui, ces jours-ci, sur la real life des aires marines protégées. Voilà, tout ça, c'est des expériences qui sont partagées entre chacun de ces membres d'aires marines protégées pour travailler sur des workshops, sous forme de workshops, sous forme d'ateliers, sous forme donc de guides, d'édition de guides, de documents. Vous faisiez référence tout à l'heure pour le réseau croate, là, d'éléments à partager au niveau de la communication. Donc, ce sont des choses sur lesquelles on travaille, mais aussi sur des échanges locaux essentiellement, qui peuvent être bilatéraux, multilatéraux, qui sont en tout cas favorisés par ce réseau, ou par l'organisation, et ça c'est régulier, d'une réunion nationale chaque année. Donc, elle a eu lieu il y a une semaine. Elle rassemble donc tous les membres de ce forum, en tout cas ceux qui peuvent venir vu les problèmes de pandémie de ces derniers temps, mais aussi avec des réunions régionales. Voilà, c'est un petit peu ce qu'on essaie de faire. Alors par contre, ce qui est intéressant aussi, c'est que n'est pas membre qui veut. C'est pas le contraire de ce qui a été dit tout à l'heure, mais un petit peu quand même. C'est-à-dire qu'en fait, la charte, nous avons une charte, c'est un réseau informel. C'est-à-dire qu'en fait, on n'est pas du tout structuré comme MedPAN en tant qu'association. ce qui pose d'ailleurs aujourd'hui des questions au sein du forum dont je vous parle. Mais bien, voilà, un réseau informel avec une charte. La charte d'adhésion, c'est en fait, elle est basée sur 2 critères. C'est d'abord d'être vraiment une aire marine protégée, déclarée en tant que telle, de manière institutionnelle, je dirais. Et également, donc, je simplifie, de disposer d'un plan de gestion. Alors, on a parlé pas mal dans d'autres sessions de cela. Pourquoi? C'est pour pouvoir quand même s'appuyer sur des réalités de gestion qui sont accolées à de la gestion voilà, de terrain, mais aussi administrative et autres. Voilà, c'est un moyen de partager un peu notre travail. Donc, il y a l'adhésion est volontaire, il n'y a rien d'obligatoire. Évidemment, il y a le bureau, c'est constitué d'un bureau, d'un président et d'un animateur qui en fait est une animatrice à mi-temps. Tu parlais de cela tout à l'heure, donc d'une animatrice à mi-temps qui s'occupe de ce réseau. Pour la petite histoire, au moment de la création de ce réseau, on avait un plein temps. Donc aujourd'hui, on est à mi-temps et je peux vous dire que ça fait beaucoup de parler dans notre réseau, pas plus tard que la semaine dernière. Nous, on aimerait bien revenir à un plein temps parce que c'est assez paradoxal quand même que d'avoir un nombre d'aires marines protégées qui augmente considérablement avec voilà, des politiques aussi qui vont avec et en même temps de descendre les niveaux. C'est pas très politiquement correct ce que je dis, mais je le dis. Voilà. Mais bon, on est en train de discuter avec l'Office français pour la biodiversité puisque c'est vrai qu'on est quand même très calé sur cette nouvelle institution qui a été créée en France il y a quelques années. Et donc, le mi-temps dont je vous parlais est financé par cette institution. Ce qui veut dire que voilà, on est quand même un peu obligé aussi de travailler bien évidemment avec eux et on le fait avec plaisir puisqu'ils sont eux-mêmes gestionnaires également d'aires marines protégées, notamment les parcs naturels marins qui sont des nouveaux outils récents. Et en fait, donc, pour faire le lien avec les réseaux, bien évidemment qu'on est en lien avec notamment MedPAN, on a eu des réunions récentes en la matière, même si voilà, le réseau est plus récent, mais également avec le réseau des réserves naturelles de France, avec le nouveau réseau de l'océan Indien, mais je pense que mon amie Karine en parlera tout à l'heure, et puis avec le réseau transatlantique aussi. Voilà, donc je pense que en fait, on est tous dans la même barque, comme on dit en français familier, mais voilà, ça fait partie aussi bien évidemment des objectifs de ces réseaux. Et ce qui est intéressant, c'est que pour la vision future, vers où on veut aller, eh bien, toujours de rester dans le technique, bien évidemment, mais, et ça a été aussi dit par toi, Puri, par rapport à ce que nous faisons au sein de MedPAN, puisque je suis membre du board de MedPAN aussi, je peux en parler facilement, c'est qu'on va aussi vers le niveau stratégique. Vers le niveau stratégique, vers tout ce qui est aussi quelque part des éléments plus politiques, parce que notamment l'évolution des aires marines protégées et de leur gestion en France a beaucoup changé ces derniers temps. Il y a des situations très différentes entre les AMP et nous, on a estimé donc au sein de ce forum qu'on avait des positionnements à avoir sur un certain nombre de dossiers. Je vous en citerai un seul pour faire simple. Le dossier des zones de protection forte, des highly protected area ou strict protected area. Je ne sais pas si on va arriver à trouver une définition en sortant de ce forum, mais bon, vous m'avez compris, c'est pour travailler sur ces thématiques-là qui sont bien évidemment aujourd'hui un des cœurs, je pense, d'intervention des réseaux pour aller vers voilà, un peu plus une meilleure biodiversité mieux protégée. Et donc, c'est de promouvoir quelque part aussi voilà, les idées des gestionnaires, je dis bien les idées des gestionnaires de terrain que nous sommes pour aller vers ces éléments un peu plus stratégiques, un peu plus politiques à partager, par exemple dans le Conseil national de la biodiversité, puisqu'on fait partie de ce conseil, entre autres, ou pour contribuer à la stratégie nationale sur la biodiversité qui a été établie en France. C'est le rôle que je vous MedPAN sur d'autres niveaux. Nous, au sein du forum, c'est ce que nous faisons. Voilà, c'est ce que je voulais vous dire, mais j'insiste sur le fait qu'on est, je pense, essentiellement quand même beaucoup attaché à être un réseau humain d'hommes et de femmes qui se rencontrent régulièrement sur des thématiques qui les rassemblent. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Renaud. Peut-être un des points aussi importants de ce que je retiens, c'est vrai que tous les réseaux évoluent et même MedPAN, c'est vrai, on ne l'a pas rappelé, mais au départ, on était un réseau finalement plutôt informel, basé sur un projet européen dans les années 2000. Et après, c'est les gestionnaires eux-mêmes qui ont voulu structurer en créant une association, donc avec un statut juridique et ce qui a permis aussi, comme disait Martina, après d'aller chercher des financements avec cette base juridique. Mais parfois, comme disait Puri, réseau informel peut bien marcher. Au niveau transatlantique, on fonctionne comme ça. On n'a pas créé une structure, c'est ça. Et donc, now we can move to the North America with Gonzalo Cid from the NOAA that is really involved on the North American MPA network and with whom we exchange for several years now. Welcome, Gonzalo. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning for me. Thank you, Marie. Can you hear me, right?
Yeah, very well.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm speaking also on behalf of the director of the MPA Center, Lauren Wenzel, who couldn't be here today, but she's sending the regards to all the participants of this meeting. So I would like to say that even if I'm representative of NAMPAM, the North American Network of MPAs, I would also have a small flag, I would say.
You are mute, Gonzalo. You have to unmute.
What about?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Good. So I was saying that I would like to say that even if I represent NAMPAM today, I'm also wearing the hat of two other networks that I think are important and maybe relevant for this initiative as well. I actually added the websites of these networks in the chat for the records, but those are the Red Golfo website, which is the Gulf of Mexico MPA network. And also we have a MPA agency partnership. This is an international network of directors level managers of MPA agencies worldwide. So I can say something about those, but in terms of the North America network, this is a network that was created under the umbrella of the Free Trade Agreement of North America with the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and more specifically under the Commission for Environmental Cooperation in the late 90s. This was always, and the intention of this network was always to be a informal platform for managers and for agencies working on protected areas in general. This network has started as a way to do some research on common conservation species, common ecosystems, and probably one of the most important projects that we created back in the 90s and early 2000s was a flag project called the B2B of Baja to Bering, which was a sort of networks of places and protected areas between Baja California in Mexico and all the way to Alaska in the United States. So this project worked with several initiatives that were carried out over the years by the different agencies that were members of this in Canada, Parks Canada, and the Agency for Oceans and Fisheries in the United States, mostly NOAA and specifically the MPA Center, along with a partnership from the Department of Interior with the National Park Service. And in Mexico was the case of CONAM, of the Commission for Protected Areas. So we had an evolution, and we, as I said, we were always a informal platform, but participating in this particular project through Puri and the Mediterranean network and the Transatlantic Initiative, or Transatlantic program. I think that gave us the input to be a much better network and to create a more solid initiative. So a few years ago, we wanted to consolidate the network in North America. So we partnered with UNEP North America office to serve as a leader, I would say, of this initiative. So over the years, we have been able to develop a specific strategic plan for the network, and also in the last 2 or 3 years, we have been able to deep dive into specific problems of our network and we learned very soon that when we discuss networks, it's not the same as discuss specific MPAs. Networks have specific objectives, specific needs, specific goals that we need to target. So we developed this objective and this key topics that we were going to target. And in 2021 and in the next year, we are going through different specific deep dive meetings with managers in the 3 countries to discuss issues such as species of common conservation concern, connectivity, and try to develop or to do some kind of specific fundraising for other projects that we are going to implement in the next few years. So we are very happy to be part of this initiative because, as I said, it allows us to be a better network. It allows us to grow as a group, as a network, and we are very much interested in not just learning but also sharing some of our experiences with the group. Briefly, we are also part of an initiative in the Gulf of Mexico with Mexico and Cuba. This has been an initiative that we have been able to create to give us a scientific platform to be able to work with Cuba, which is, as you may know, very difficult to do. But this initiative, with the support of NGOs and support of a large marine ecosystem project funded by the JEF, has given us the opportunity to create a network, which right now is being managed through an initiative called the Trinational Initiative, coordinated by the Ocean Foundation. And this is giving us the chance to work as a network with the specific MPAs in the Gulf of Mexico, of the United States, Mexico, and Cuba. I think we recently joined this group, and we also would like to be an active member as a specific, a small network in the Gulf. And finally, the MPA agency partnership, the MPA-MP, is just a network of managers or directors level network of the MPA agencies in different countries. Many of the participants at this meeting are members of this, but we would like to increase our membership and have new leadership within this group. You can read a little bit more about this in the website, and I invite you to visit this. And if you have any questions on MPA, on NAMPAM, Red Golfo, or the MPA-P, please send me a message. Thanks, Marie. I hope that this is what you are expecting to hear from me.
Gracias, Gonzalo.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, this is more than what we expect to hear from you, because I think you raise things that were not initially in the list, but are really, really, really important, which is that different multi-levels and going up, because we were talking about the value and the work of the regional networks with the national agencies. But this dimension of national agencies working together internationally is very, very important also to in the connection with the regional networks. So at the end, you also show an example that for people in the Mediterranean is really relevant when you talk about Red Golfo. Red Golfo is not an easy result. So if you consider the background relationships between Cuba and the US, it's obviously a situation that we also know situations equivalent in the Mediterranean. And it shows that when we go to the ground, to the value of taking care of the ecosystems, the value of applying with science, we can find ways to connect people in countries, even in difficult situations. So I really appreciate, and I know that this is also a success of good diplomacy, but connecting with the ground value of management. So thank you very much for providing those inputs. I just to say that also Red Golfo will join the transatlantic exchanges soon, and at the next meeting they commit to participate, and we are very glad, because we really think that this multi-level connection at the end is what we need to connect this international dimension of planetary agreements that sometimes look more stratospheric agreements than planetary. So there's this dimension that is so far from the reality of the management that for many managers it's difficult to understand what means a target at the CBD level, at the climate change, even it is worse in the climate change convention, how they can really do something useful for that and vice versa. So sometimes I attend COPs for many years and I listening at the debates of people negotiating, and I doubt that any of them touch any time in his life a marine protected area. Probably a protected area inland, maybe, but marine, most of they never touch. So, and they're negotiating and they are taking commitments that will affect this dimension. So what we are doing with this multi-connection with networks is really approaching the reducing the distance and allowing to pass the information. And this is really, really crucial. So thank you. And we are not only connecting, as I say, with the Atlantic, we are also very glad to know that recently has been creating a regional network in the Indian Ocean, which is called MPA. And we have today here Karim Potin, that she's the coordinator, or I think it's the coordinator name, the president. Okay, even better. So Karim will present what is the basis of this network, what they are doing, and then we can just say some joint initiatives that we already began to explore recently. Karim, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Donc, bonsoir à tous. Donc, je suis ravie d'être avec vous ce soir. Et je vous envoie depuis ma belle île de l'océan Indien plein de chaleur parce que je sais que chez vous, il fait un peu plus frais. Alors, nous, notre réseau, par rapport à vous tous, c'est un réseau qui est un petit bébé puisqu'il a à peine 5 mois. Donc, on a lancé le réseau des aires marines protégées de l'océan Indien en juin de cette année. Donc, en fait, ce qu'il faut savoir, c'est que ce réseau, il ne date pas que de cette année, bien sûr, puisqu'en tout cas, l'idée était née, comme beaucoup de réseaux, de quelques gestionnaires de l'océan Indien. Et on se retrouvait souvent dans les congrès internationaux, notamment le congrès WIAMSA, qui regroupe tous les 2 ans tous les scientifiques de la zone océan Indien qui travaillent dans les sciences marines. Et on s'était dit que ça aurait été intéressant de se fédérer, de travailler ensemble plus étroitement. Parce que, bien évidemment, on collaborait en coopération dans certains programmes, mais il était important quand même que les gestionnaires se regroupent. Donc, il faut savoir que ce réseau, donc, comme beaucoup de réseaux qui ont été présentés tout à l'heure, est un réseau qui se veut technique de gestionnaires, donc vraiment qui part du terrain. Et il faut savoir que ça regroupe tous les pays. On espère regrouper à terme les plus de 140 aires marines protégées de la zone sud-ouest océan Indien, qui comportent toute la côte africaine, depuis l'Afrique du Sud jusqu'au Mozambique, mais également les Comores, les Glorieuses, Madagascar, les Seychelles, la Réunion, bien sûr, Maurice, et bien d'autres. Et en fait, on envisage évidemment de regrouper toutes les AMP formelles, qui sont souvent gérées en lien avec le gouvernement, mais aussi toutes les informelles. Il faut savoir que, par exemple, à Madagascar, il y a énormément de petites AMP qui sont très inspirantes et qui travaillent en réseau sans être sous un statut officiel. Et elles font bien sûr partie du réseau MPAN. Donc, comme on l'a dit, ça a été dit aussi précédemment, dans ce réseau, il y a tous les corps de métier, puisque c'est technique. Donc, il y a les conservateurs, les directeurs, mais aussi les scientifiques, les rangers, les gardes, mais aussi les techniciens, voire d'autres personnes donc, qui peuvent faire partie de ce réseau. Alors, l'intérêt, pourquoi, comme beaucoup de réseaux, c'est de se retrouver autour de thématiques communes. Donc, les thématiques, ça peut être de tout ordre, ça peut être au niveau écologique. Il y a les récifs coralliens qui peuvent nous unir, les herbiers, les mangroves, mais ça peut être également au niveau méthodologique. Par exemple, on a un même suivi qui peut être fait dans différents pays, ou d'autres problématiques, ou d'autres questionnements techniques qui peuvent nous rassembler. Donc, l'important, comme on l'a dit, c'est que ça reste vraiment au niveau technique gestionnaire. Il faut savoir que dans le passé, il y a eu un réseau qui avait déjà été initié, mais c'était plutôt au niveau politique. Et de fait, n'a pas fonctionné puisque n'était pas en face avec la réalité. Donc, en fait, on se veut, au niveau de l'océan Indien, on aimerait en tout cas qu'il y ait une voix en fait, qui soit portée pour les gestionnaires et qu'elle couvre en fait toutes les AMP. Donc, comme aussi, j'arrive à la fin, donc je suis désolée, je vais pas faire des redites de tout ce qui a été dit auparavant, mais le but, c'est évidemment qu'on se réunisse entre AMP, qu'on collabore ensemble, que l'on fasse des liens plus structurés. Des fois, ça peut être simplement pour donner de l'information, pour partager de l'aide, pour collaborer, pour échanger sur les bonnes pratiques, ce qu'on appelle les bonnes pratiques, les réussites, le partage de solutions, des leçons qu'on a aussi, parce que quelquefois, ça ne marche pas. Échanger également en ce qui concerne les publications, les guides, les outils qui peuvent aider les gestionnaires d'aires marines protégées au quotidien. Et en fait, notre grand challenge aussi, parce qu'on en a beaucoup besoin dans la zone, c'est aussi d'augmenter ce qu'on appelle la capacité, les compétences du personnel de gestion des aires marines protégées. Donc, il y a carrément des formations et notamment un gros programme de qualification qui s'appelle Wayo Compass, qui permet à des agents de toute la zone océan Indien de se former, d'acquérir des compétences. Et ça a une vraie valeur en qualification si on veut chercher un emploi, si on veut aussi faire des mutations, aller dans d'autres pays, etc. de la zone. Donc, c'est vraiment très important. Et il y a eu 32 formations par information depuis 2020. Donc, ce qu'il passe, c'est que pour l'instant aussi, comme beaucoup de réseaux, comme on est tout jeune, on n'est pas très structuré pour l'instant. On a évidemment, vous l'avez dit, une présidence. Pour l'instant, c'est moi, mais ça va bien évidemment tourner, avec un bureau des fondateurs, on va dire, de ce réseau. Pour l'instant, on est adossé à YMSTA, qui est l'association des scientifiques de la zone, qui est une association assez puissante et forte dans l'océan Indien, et on est adossé également à la Convention de Nairobi. Donc, à terme, évidemment, c'est d'aller chercher des fonds pour qu'on ait aussi une animation pérenne, qu'on puisse aussi se rencontrer, qu'on puisse encore mieux collaborer tous ensemble. Donc, voilà, je remercie beaucoup MedPAN de me permettre aujourd'hui de parler de ces réseaux. Je fais également partie du Forum des aires marines protégées françaises. Et je crois que c'est important qu'on se mette tous ensemble au niveau de l'international. Donc, c'était très rafraîchissant de voir tous ces exemples dans le monde entier. Je crois que c'est important parce qu'on a besoin, nous, petits réseaux, de s'inspirer de ce que vous faites. Et peut-être que vous aurez aussi à vous inspirer de ce qu'on peut faire aussi dans l'océan Indien. Et je crois qu'on peut aussi, dans le futur, faire des collaborations sur des thématiques, sur des problématiques, sur des enjeux communs. Et je pense aussi que, pour revenir sur ce qu'a dit Puri tout à l'heure, je pense qu'il est important aussi qu'au niveau international, mondial, qu'on ait peut-être, je ne sais pas sous quelle forme cela pourrait être, qu'il y a comme un consortium qui représente chacun des réseaux des gestionnaires qui pourraient aller communiquer et défendre la cause des aires marines protégées en venant vraiment du terrain. Voilà ce que je voulais vous dire ce soir, et si vous avez d'autres questions, je suis à votre disposition.
Merci beaucoup, Karine. Je pense que c'est très intéressant d'écouter tes mots et de connecter avec ces nouveaux réseaux. I would just add, regarding the last points of Karine, that we have a first example. Yeah, thanks. We have already a first example of cooperation around Africa. In a few months, there's going to happen the African Parks Congress, the first African Parks Congress. And we decide to propose a joint event of regional networks that operates in different regions of Africa. So we have ROMPAO in West Africa, we have MedPAN in North Africa, and we have MedPAN in the Indian area. So we submit a proposal. We don't know if it will be accepted or not, but this is a first action to begin to work together and explore how we are supporting, in this case, African countries on the topic of MPA management. So I think we are almost at the end of the time, but I would like to know if someone in the room wants to add something. You have maybe some additional input for networks, or some network what we don't know. No new networks, at least. So in this case, I think and I don't know if online there is some hand raised, because I saw also other partners of the Ocean Governance Project in Spain, Fundación Biodiversidad, I saw in the screen, but maybe there are other that wants to add some comment. If it's not the case, I just remind you that you are invited, if some of you are interested, in the trainings we are organizing tomorrow on marine mammal tool and resilience tool, and that you are also welcome to contact any of the networks that we have presented here today and to support, because for me, there's something very clear listening at all colleagues today, that this is a great example of valuing human diversity as well. Too often, the conservation world emphasizing uniformizing the way to operate in the way we take care of nature. And this is a real disaster. Okay, we cannot operate all in the same manner. We can use equivalent tools, even the same tools, but each one has to adapt to its context, ecosystemic context and cultural and socioeconomic context. So the networks are showing that when you allow the managers to organize themselves, they really do the best to find the appropriate tools to apply in its site. It's not, this is something tailor-made. It's not a common model that we applied and you say, okay, you must do this, this, this everywhere. No, it's from the experience of others, we inspire, we learn, and we adapt. And I think it's probably a good reflection of this biodiversity that we want to conserve in the ecosystem, but we should also apply in our daily life, organizing ourselves in the best manner, but obviously connected, which is another lesson we learn from nature. There is nothing disconnected in nature. Everything has some kind of connection. So this we are in a certain manner. These networks are a kind of biomimetic approach that we replicate nature models in our societies. So thank you very much for attending the session. I want to thank Marie that she had to leave because she's having another session in the museum, but thank you. And you are all welcome. And thank you so much to all that follow the session virtually, and especially our speakers in the panel. Thanks and have a nice evening, afternoon, whatever. Thanks.